Hello, everyone. I'm Darla, and this is the Art of Learning Self-Love. Today is day 14 out of the coursework, and the title is Love is the Master's Key. So I want to talk a little bit about the Master's Key. What is a Master's Key? Does anyone know what a Master's Key is? The Master Key.
It is something that opens every door, every lock. It's made to open every lock in the house.
As an apartment manager in my past, I used to have the master key, and I could go and unlock any door at any time when necessary. When, by the proper laws and the rules that were established, I could enter a dwelling. And the master's key, in reference to the Art of Learning Self-Love, is love. Love is the key. Love has so many different levels. Love can be the way that you respond in any circumstance, but we have to fine tune and teach ourselves how. One of the things I've learned is love is the master key that opens the gates to happiness. For myself, is what happened is I learned that I couldn't create happiness in my own life until I finally learned how to love myself. And it doesn't matter what situation or circumstance that happens around me, even if it affects me, because of the love that I have within and the joy that came from that love when I discovered who I really was, I could no longer be separate from that experience within. No matter what situations or circumstances are happening outside, that's what's happening outside of me. It's not actually in me. It's not happening inside. So I don't have to pick up and own somebody else's behaviors. I don't have to pick up and own a situation and circumstance. I can actually observe it and decide what I want to do with it. But it takes a practice. It's not something we just climb right into and go, oh, I love myself. No, there's a lot of work that goes into understanding how to love ourselves. And love begins within. It's not something that we can seek outside of ourselves for. Love comes to us once we've resolved the circumstances and the situations within. But it still doesn't leave us exempt from experiences and circumstances. Experiences and circumstances still come in regardless of how much you love yourself, no matter how much internal work you've done. But this is where the experience comes in and meets you and allows you to actually survey what's going on. How you respond and how you react is major. If you become part of the problem, then there's still work to be done. If you can separate yourself and remove yourself from it and begin assessing what needs to be done and how to properly walk through it, then that means you've come through a lot of work within. Now, does anybody have any questions yet? Okay.
Yeah. I totally forgot what I was gonna say.
You forgot.
That's okay, Jojo. So, Jojo, can you grab Mom and you a pen and a paper? And if anybody else would like to grab one, this would be the time. What we'll be doing is writing down our affirmation for the day and what our assignment is. I always give a little assignment and I give a little affirmation during each one of these classes. If you're ready to write it down, let me know. But while we're waiting for everyone to gather their materials, I want to go ahead and talk about the assignment. The assignment of day 14 is write out all the times you can remember being taken care of or provided for. That's what the assignment is. Then, next step, write out about how grateful you are for those moments in your life. And does anyone have any questions or what I was talking about? Okay, and the affirmation of the day is love is the master key that opens the gates to happiness.
Okay. Write out how many times you can remember being taken care of or what?
Write out all the times you can remember being taken care of or provided for.
Okay.
Then
And then
write about how grateful you are for these moments in your life.
okay. We need to do that now or wait till after?
We're going to talk about it for now, and then you can write afterwards as much as you need to, because generally when we start doing this practice, it starts actually triggering other memories.
Okay.
And it is a real purpose. I found years ago when I first started this for myself, when I did this, it was because I was taking into account at the time, I was dealing with some things in my life where I had to be taken care of. And I didn't have the ability because I had had a illness that had happened. And I needed to be taken care of. I had an event that had me dealing with some cardiac issues at the time. And because of that, it literally caused me to not be able to get up out of bed. And I required others to provide and take care of. That was humbling. I'm a go-getter. I like to be in charge of myself. I like to know that I can be able to take care of myself. But I had to learn during that time, it wasn't about me taking care of myself. It was the fact that source, God, universe, always steps in and takes care of us. No matter what our circumstance and our situation is, there's always a source that is providing. That source comes from each individual that we interact with. That source comes from us and ourselves. It comes from taking that time to actually dive within and providing for ourselves what's necessary, taking the steps each day to actually acknowledge ourselves as well as those around us. It taught me to be very grateful. And I realized gratitude was truly another key. Love and gratitude go hand in hand. When you can sit in gratitude and love, you can truly transmute anything and everything that is going on in your life. When you can find out of the experience that may be absolutely brutal, but if you can look and find the experience, you can find something to love. There's always a lesson. Life hands us a series of lessons. And one of the biggest things that I've learned recently is to eliminate the word if. It is truly a this or a that. But when I sit with an if, I can actually be creating a storyline that I don't want. What if this happens? What if that happens? Well, the if, when we use it appropriately, needs to be done with real serious consideration and thought. Because if I'm thinking in the negative or the things that I don't want, and I think, what if this happens? That can create a story. Years ago, when I came through domestic violence, one of the things that counselors over and over and over again said to me, what are you going to do if this happens again? And subconsciously, I've forgotten all about the if. That sat there in my mind in a subconscious space, developing a world that actually created an if. One of the things I learned during that years ago is the last thing I need to do is be silent. We all have a story, and domestic issues happen every day, constantly. And they're swept under the rug and pretended that they're not there and they're not real. And I can't do that because I know that I love myself enough to pull back the wool and state my truth. I love that I can truly hold the happiness within, that I can actually love another even after the painful experience. Just because a situation happens doesn't mean you lose love. It means you have a lot of pain bodies and a story that you have to transmute and go through. It means that you have a situation within that you need to transmute. And the only thing that I have found that can transmute everything was love. Love is the master key of life. Love gives us freedom. Love gives us excitement. But love can also bring pain. I want to share with everyone a song because I think it's very important and it goes along with what I'm talking about. It's called The Rose, and it's by Bette Midler. The song itself, and I could sing it, but I'm not going to. I might sing a little just because, just because I can, and it's fun to sing, and that brings me joy. But really, I just want to read through it, and it says, some say love, it is a river that drowns the tender reed. Some say love, it is a razor that leads the soul to bleed. Some say love, it is a hunger, an endless aching need. I say love, it is a flower, and you, its only seed. It's the heart afraid of breaking that never learns to dance. It's the dream afraid of waking that never takes the chance. It's the one who won't be taken, who cannot seem to give, and the soul afraid of dying that never learns to live. When the night has been too lonely and the road has been too long, and you think that love is only for the lucky and the strong, just remember in the winter, far beneath the bitter snow, lies the seed that with the sun's love in the spring becomes the rose. That song for me for years, when I was a young lady, when that first came through during my teen years, the part that I resonated then because of pain and brokenness and the stories, it was, I heard this song shortly after an experience in my teen years from what is considered a date rape. You're dating somebody, you say no, they still take advantage of you and they do something, and it's called a date rape. It's when you are with someone and you're dating, but they push upon you something you have stated no to. I was 14 years old, and this song rang through me during that painful time in my life. And what I heard, and the only words that really stuck out to me at that point in my life was, some say love is a razor. It leaves the soul to bleed. I had had an experience that cut me down to the core of who I was. My very soul had been damaged to a level that I didn't think that there was anything else, but that I was just going to continue to believe. And it was going to hurt forever. Life doesn't have to stay there. Everything has a season, just like we're today, being the equinox, the spring equinox. Today is, then that's why I wanted to bring this in, is because it is talking about the spring, the new birth, the new things are arriving. Yes, we have that dark moment in life. But do we live there and stay there, or can we come out and dawn with the new day? We have the ability to dawn at any point, but it takes us doing the stuff and the steps and the skills that are necessary, learning those things. Sometimes it's unlearning behaviors, which is what I had to do a lot of. I had to unlearn because I had been taught so many things that were not serving my highest good. And I had to disassemble myself because I was built incorrectly by the environment and the circumstances around me. So when looking at the different seasons, love can be lost, love can be gained, love can be found, and sometimes love still remains. These are the different seasons that we go through. I know so many different stories and different things for different people in my life that have had love lost. But I also know people right now that are so excited that are calling me and telling me about the love that they found. All of these things are happening simultaneously around the world at any given moment. And when we can actually open ourselves to understanding that love heals, love breaks, love can be found, love can be lost, with all the different things that we have going on at the same time, we got to remember that there are millions and trillions of different perspectives happening at any given moment. So everyone's going to have a different opinion. But love is the bridge that allows you to listen to another. It opens your ears. It opens your heart. It allows you to see things from more than one perspective. I'm not always right, but I'm not always wrong. I'm just as guilty as someone else, because we all have a part in everything. We all fall short, but we all can gain. We can all grow and expand and spread our wings and fly to the highest of heights. But we can also catch a different current and stumble through and land on the ground and have to get ourselves back up, dust ourselves back off, and get up again. We can fall down a million times as long as we remember to get up a million and one. Doesn't matter what your story is today, where you're at right now. Love can change the way. So I know that the assignment today is talking about things that we can remember being taken care of or provided for. And I'm going to share just briefly, and I'm not going to go into a lot of detail, but just briefly, I've recently had a situation that has put me in a position. I had to make phone calls and had to travel across to another state in the United States and literally ask for assistance. I had to literally humble myself and ask for assistance. I'm staying in a friend's basement apartment. And I'm fortunate because I have a friend who's actually well enough in her own position that she can offer to me a time of rest and relaxation for me to actually take the steps that are necessary to rebound from what I recently experienced and actually walk through my process, which has been beautiful because I didn't have any obligations other than what was already mine to begin with when I showed up. It's really a blessing. And I can't be anything more than grateful for the opportunity. Not everyone is given that. Sometimes I have in my past was not given that. I can remember being on the streets. I can remember the times when a cup of coffee told me I was safe because I was within a dwelling and I knew that somebody had come up and handed me something that I could go and put a little bit of sugar and a little bit of cream in and know that it wasn't just something that I could, that I had to make through running into a convenience store if I could get enough change to gather it, but that I was being handed that cup. I've come from the bottom and I climbed a long ways. And I stand in this class to teach this stuff, not because I think that I'm greater than anything or anyone. It's because I believe that I learned a fail-proof process that I want to be able to deliver to the world so that they too can learn how to overcome circumstances and situations that nobody needs to go through. I just happen to be the one that got to experience it all so that I could find the way. Apparently, I thought the beginning of the foundations of creation that this was a great experience so that I could bring back a ton of information to the collective body. And I decided to take one of the harshest lessons in the world and say, I can transmute that, rearrange it, bring it back to collective, and we will all be free. I decided that back at the beginnings of the foundations of creation when it was all being built. And it was for a time such as this, so that people can have somebody that really has a passion for them. Because that was also invested in me, a passion for people. Not compassion, not where I'm just like, oh, I feel. No, a passion, like I am passionate about doing this. I can't stop. It doesn't matter whether or not it provides me a single penny or not. What matters is that I get the story out there for others to actually learn how to get free. Because freedom is what we all are equal to. They have a right to be. I learned how to be the best me and be completely free in that. And that's what I want to be able to hand to the world. When I talk about the types of abuse that are out there, I talk about physical, emotional, sexual, spiritual, financial. I've walked through it all. Oh, it hurt. I'm not going to lie. I can still feel sometimes as it wells up. But the cool part is I have this really amazing tool that I've given myself that I honor me at any given moment. So when it wells up and it feels so heavy and it makes you want to cry and it takes your very breath. What I do is I sit with myself for a minute, no matter where I'm at, and I allow it to come up. And I imagine it coming out into my hands so I can look at it and see what really is coming up. Sometimes it's the grief because I've lost the things I wanted so much. Sometimes it's the story of the pain that I experienced. Sometimes it's the absolute joy of the moment. It doesn't always have to be that. I honor every feeling I have, from the good, the bad, and the indifferent, but I put them out here and I look at them and I acknowledge them for who they are and what they are right now at this given moment. And what I need to release, I let go. But what I need to keep, I take and I integrate back into myself. And I receive what I need to keep. Sometimes it's the lesson. Oh, well, that was a harsh lesson. Or, oh my God, that was amazing. Doesn't matter which side of the railroad track we're standing on. Both are just vitally important. The good, the bad, and the indifferent are all extreme circumstances in every single pivotal moment of our life. We're never out of alignment, no matter how bad the story might get. We're always right on time every time, no matter what we're going through. So, if that's the case, how do we begin stepping in to the gratitude of the experience when it's not the story we want? Well, how did you handle it? Acknowledgement. What happened during it? What did you learn from it? That's what you find the gratitude in, the lesson, when it's the bad stories. But when it's the good stories, how easy is it to climb right in and tell everybody all about the good? I chose a long time ago to be vulnerable. I learned that vulnerability was the only way I was ever going to get out of my head and back into life. So I began telling those stories too, because they were important. Breaking a cycle within. What happens when we go through trauma? The foundation of our brain, or like I like to call it, it's like the brain pan. It's like, okay, you got the oil pan to a car, everything's flowing and cycling and doing its thing. But something, a big old huge rock, you go over the top of it and you cut out that bottom oil pan, you're going to drain out and the whole entire engine's going to break. This is what's happening when we receive trauma after trauma after trauma. We're getting that pan is getting hit over and over, which is actually our heart. Over and over and over again. And eventually we can't handle any more traumas and everything breaks. I can remember suffering years ago with nightmares, with shakes and tremors, and being such a frail, afraid little girl that I was like literally my shoulders cowered. I literally held myself closed off. I kept my arms crossed for my protection of myself and my body. But I learned how to actually overcome that and grow out of that and regrow into a new being. I had to be like the caterpillar. I had to go in for a long time and set up in this little cocoon and wrap myself all up. And then I had to do all that internal work so that I could grow. So literally, there are times where I feel today that I was entrusted with the master's key to help alleviate these problems, because when my brain pan popped and I couldn't cope anymore and everything oozed out everywhere in my world, When everything broke, I literally had to sit with myself and rediscover who I was. Then I had to build myself and rebuild it. But a lot of times what happens with PTSD or PTSDC, whatever with the C, there's different parts of different types of PTSD. What would happen is I got put in a loop and I'd find myself repeating the same loop over and over and over again. And what was making that happen? My subconscious. Because in the beginning parts of my life, I was built and created and custom designed in a certain way with the environments and the circumstances that were around me that actually built up the way that my habits were formatted. And it came from the environment around me. I was trained at a young age to accept abuse over and over and over. And until I could break that loop inside and rebuild myself with the tools that were necessary, I had to completely tear down a structure and a system. I had to completely wipe the slate and start again, much later in life. That was not easy. There's a lot of fighting and resistance that came with all of it, which caused other problems. But when I had completely come free, I can tell you that question that day in the office when I was leaving from the domestic violence advocacies, when I'd received my PIN that I could go out and tell the world the stories and help other people, when I received that in my life, I realized that if, when it showed back up, I could honestly state, I love you, but I love me more. I could actually state that in the midst of the crisis. When I rose up and I stated, I love you, but I love me more. I liberated myself in that very moment because I realized that I had already had the tools. I had every part, every facet, every detail was already invested in me, that I knew exactly what to do, how to do it, and when to do it, and why to do it. And I could set myself free. That is the most liberating experience that anybody could ever have. It changes the dynamics within. You can speak it, you can tell it, you can share it, but until you know for certain what you would really do, when you find out, when you experience that, it changes who you are to a core level, and it gives you so much confidence. Nothing can ever separate you from you. Nothing can separate me from me, because I know who I am. I know what I'm about. I know that I do everything from a core space of love. And when I do that, it literally sets me free from anything anyone else would like to put over me. And I can rise up out of it so simple, so easily, because I know my truth. Being authentic instead of pretending to be people that we're not doesn't help us. And if you're struggling with that on the inside, trying to fake it till you make it, this is the place that you need to be. You need to be in here learning the tools that are necessary to transmute that. Because what you need to do is just climb into who you truly are and be exactly who you are, because that's written in you for a purpose. Because what you have is more than enough to give to the world around you. And people are looking. Don't try to be someone you're not. Don't try and hold on to somebody else and be that person instead, but find you. Be authentic in it. Be true to it every single day, because your tribe will find you in a holy instant. they'll all like trickle right on in. Ding, ding, here we are. We've been here the whole time. They show up. They show off. They go above and beyond to make sure that you know who you are, that you're really truly living it. And it's a great thing, living in the gratitudes of the experience and those who help come in and take care of things when you are at your least. That is one of the most important pieces, is being in gratitude. Every single day, find something, even if it was just looking at the sunrise or the sunset or a butterfly that fluttered by. You got to look and find out exactly what it is that allows you to find gratitude. So I'm going to take the last little bit here and give everybody an opportunity to talk about what came up for you hearing today.
My gratitudes that I have for today, or for what I've got going on in my life, are that I have had the opportunity to slow down and just take care of me, because I have a really good mother-in-law that loves me unconditionally, like I'm her child, you know, and I've been able to put in the effort to healing my heart and healing what's happened with me.
Can you share a little bit of what's going on for you?
Well,
See why you're saying that?
I lost my husband of 20 years, January 3rd of this year. And losing him, really, I felt like I lost myself with him, because not only was he my husband, but he was my trigger, because he was a narcissist and he took a lot out on me. And I've dealt with a lot of domestic violence. I've dealt with a lot of mental, and me and my husband were also on drugs for 20 years together. I'm now 83 days sober off of methamphetamines. And I'm grateful that I have the chance to slow down and realize how important life is now. Not only for myself, but for my son and for everybody else's lives that I touch around me. Because I am important. No matter how unimportant I felt in the past, I know I am now.
That's beautiful, Connie. I'm sorry about the loss, and I know how hard it hurts right now, because this is part of my family. This is my sister. So walking with my sister and my nephew right now, going through some of this stuff, I'm so grateful that you are finally accepting that there is a process that you can walk through. And I am honored that I get to walk with you through it. But I know that you have a team of people around you in the process as well, through church and other resources in your community, and others who have opened up doors for the horse stuff with your son. And there are many that have walked into your life right now during what's going on. And I am so grateful that I get to see that and to hear and to know how long you are free of being off of methamphetamines is one of the biggest accomplishments of your life right now. And I'm super proud of you. I want you to know that to your core, how proud of you I am.
Thank you.
Because this was a huge decision that you and I talked about it the other day. And I want to really focus in on something you said the other day that I heard. You said, I made a decision.
Yeah.
That is one of the biggest keys in anything. When you can make a decision, it literally shifts everything in your brain that says, I'm in charge of me. So now you don't have to fall to those temptations, because at any moment when those temptations come up and arise, you can actually own your decision and no, or yes, or whatever the differences are for you. You can say, nope, I already climbed into this. And it helps you to actually become the success that you want to be. Decisions are everything.
Yeah.
I just wanted to really honor that because that is the biggest thing you could have ever done. And I'm super proud of you.
Thank you. Thank you.
And Jane, how about you today?
Oh, all is well. And Connie, thanks for sharing.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, that's a big accomplishment, and I think, I think all of us, we have to keep it simple. We have to keep our lives simple, and I know what keeps me on track is, am I in the love zone? Are the things that I'm choosing for the betterment of me, or am I hurting myself? And we really always have choices, but sometimes sometimes there's patterns that get developed, toxic patterns, and and then that sets up the whole, well, gee, do I really deserve happiness? And the answer is yes, 1,000 times yes. You deserve every happiness. We all do. And not happiness at the expense of anybody else, but simple happiness. To laugh and to have joy, and to feel like, gee, I am somebody in my world, and getting strong enough so that we can give back. I know for me, with any illness that I've ever had that has kept me in bed for weeks or months at a time, I always look forward to getting stronger so I can feel good. You just want to feel good, not dependent on anything other than the breath and the food you intake. So for me, I'm feeling so grateful for really everything that's around me. I I lost my husband at the age of 25 with 2 small children. And so that was a very long time ago, but loss is loss. And and I think in your case there might be a sense of freedom that that you're feeling, but yet you
Yes,
feel the loss.
I feel the loss because when you're married for as long as I was to my husband, they become a habit. No matter how toxic that habit is, it's something that your life is expected to keep doing because, for one, you love them. For two, you don't know how to fix it, so you're just going to live with it. And so, yeah, I do feel a sense of freedom from pretty much being oppressed for a long time. But
Right.
now I'm learning that I'm not as mad or angry or just out of control myself because I'm no longer having to deal with the toxic patterns he was
Right.
giving me. So,
Right. Yeah, that's good.
And
That's
you
really
also are
good.
going through a lot of grief recovery right now. You're taking a course on grief recovery, aren't you?
yes, ma'am.
That's also helping her.
Yeah,
a
good
lot.
for you.
Struggling with that. How do I feel okay? He's gone, but I
Yeah.
feel free. That was a really, really complex circumstance to walk through because
Yeah.
she wanted to be happy, but she was scared because she thought it wasn't appropriate because of the loss, that she needed to have
Right.
survivor's
Guilt.
guilt and remorse, but finding freedom for her life, no longer having the other shoe dropping. And we had to walk together through a lot of that in regards to transmuting that space so that she could, and redoing some work in regards to recalibrating some stuff within so that she could actually accept her.
Because my brain was stuck on the fight or flight. And for me, it was really
Absolutely.
just a fight, because
Yeah.
I wasn't just the normal girl that just laid down and took it. I fought back. But for me, for weeks after he died, I was looking for the fight still because of how often it was. And that was also something that was very hard to understand. I hated the fighting process so much with them, but then I was also looking for somebody to fight with. So I had to learn to let go of all of those feelings of hatred and anger and just ugly feelings that were inside of me that I pent up because I didn't know how to get rid of them until now. And now I feel it, I acknowledge it, and I let it go because life's too short to hang on to all of it. It wasn't all mine to hang on to anyways.
Absolutely. Good for you.
We are down to the last couple minutes. Next week, anyone who hears this, I will be getting back to doing the fountain every session because the fountain is really important. And what that is allowing us to remove the storyline within and bringing in the new that we deserve, that we are rightful, which is from the wholeness and the completion from the foundation of creation, that we are abundant. And that is the truth. And we can take these pain bodies and these pain stories and literally wash them out through an alignment by going into the fountain, which is just a process that I walk anybody through. So if anybody needs one this week, I am available to schedule and book calls with. And I am eager and excited to help walk people through transmuting whatever it is that's going on in your story so that you can actually find the comfort, the security, and literally begin developing the steps and the skills so that you can actually possess the love within yourself and set yourself free, because we all deserve to have that. Bye.
Beautiful.